Well, when you have a garden, weeding is kind of a must, and I think we can all agree that it's something pretty annoying to do, especially since it's something you have to do regularly. In this video, I'm going to show you my technique and a few tips to make it as little of a hassle as possible, so it gets done as well as possible, and most importantly, so you don't have to keep coming back to it regularly, because honestly, if weeding is done right, you only have to do it the first time, and in the following years, you don't need to come back to it. I'm going to show you how today. I'm presenting to you two ways to weed. The first one is intensive, surgical, precise and thorough. Yes, I admit that one can be a bit of a hassle. And the second one is quick, efficient and not always necessary. As long as the first weeding was done properly, and also as long as you follow a few important rules, that's everything we're going to cover in this video. All right, weeding tutorial, let's go, shall we? This method is an active weeding technique that helps you maintain a clean growing area in just minutes or hours depending on the area and its condition. For example, my grassy compacted area is the most challenging. I'm able to create a growing bed about 10 meters long in less than 2 hours. Yes, it takes some time and can be annoying, but it's necessary to start crops properly and efficiently. And again, you really only do this once when setting things up. After that, normally it doesn't need to be done again. As I was saying, this method is active and requires weeding, but there's a much more passive method. Well, basically, there's nothing to do. It happens on its own. It's called weeding by occultation, which you do simply by covering the area and putting down a top. This method takes much longer. There's nothing to do, but setup takes longer since you need a tarp to block light. In summer or fall, it will be ready the next year. If you're interested in this method, I have a video about it. I'll link it here. Now let's look at the more demanding active method, where you'll need to get your hands in the soil. But if you didn't plan ahead, this will allow you to create a perfect growing area in just a few hours. So a few words about this method. First of all, as I said, you'll only need to do this once, the very first time, and you can do it starting from any type of area. Whether it's an old meadow, abandoned field, or uncultivated area, you'll only need to do it once. The method doesn't require any products, and as for tools, you'll need a broad fork or possibly a pitchfork. If all you have are claw tools, that's something I use a lot. Possibly a mattock or a pickaxe if you have one, especially if you're starting with a field that has big roots to remove, because you'll really need to get everything out, and then you'll need a rake to finish the job and get a clean, even seedbed. That's all you'll need. So after that, you'll have a bed that's really clean with a perfect seed bed to start sowing, and also soil that's loose and deep, just right. If you have plantings to do right away, let's move on to weeding itself and you'll see. What we're going to do first is make it as simple as possible and do it in the most efficient way. First, you'll need to mark out your area. That's up to you. And once the area is marked out, we'll go over everything with the broad fork and we'll use the broad fork. In a bit of a rough way, I'd say this isn't really how you're supposed to use a broad fork normally. I say broad fork, but it could be an aerator or any similar tool. With the big tines and the two handles to make it easier to pull, so you'll go over everything with the broad fork. You can even go over it once in one direction and then again in another direction. You see, with the passes of the broad fork crossing over each other a bit, really, this is to get the soil as loose as possible. Now, a few little tips to make it easier. Don't do it right after it rains, especially if you have dense soil like clay or silt. Because after the rain, if the soil is too wet, it will form big clumps that won't break apart easily, and the roots will have trouble coming loose from the ground. So there you go, do it. A good time is after a rain, but not too long after a rain either. Make sure the soil isn't too dry or the broad fork will struggle to penetrate. Use it when the soil is moist, but not too wet or dry. Well, but you'll see that depending on your soil. With experience, I was saying that you need to clearly mark out your growing area and then the paths around the growing areas. When you use the broad fork, make sure to go well into the paths. That way you'll really be able to weed the growing area and also weed a little bit into the path. We'll see that in a moment. By thoroughly weeding a little bit into the path as well, you'll limit regrowth. Because if we often have to weed again, it's because the weeds grow back, and if they grow back, it can come from the grass we leave in the paths. You'll see in a moment how I do it to prevent that from happening. Anyway, for now, let's use the broad fork, making sure to work well on the growing area and go a little over into the paths. So all this work with the broad fork, it's important to do it really well and to have really loose soil. It will make everything easier later on, and once that's done properly, well, you'll need to remove all the weeds, all the roots, all the rhizomes, everything plant related that might be left in the soil. And that's also really important to do thoroughly, to remove everything, especially if you're setting up a new crop. And you'll see in the following times, in the years to come, using the broad fork isn't necessarily required. You won't necessarily remove all the plants that are already there, but if you're starting from a wasteland or a meadow area or something like that, it's going to be mostly grasses. These will be wild plants that you don't necessarily need for your crops, and especially they're very vigorous and will quickly come back. So here the idea is during this first weeding to remove as much as you can. If it's an old meadow, you'll have a lot of grasses, you'll see the grasses. If the broad fork has been used properly, you often just need to pull on the clump of grass so that the whole root system comes out with a lot of soil attached around the roots. So here you take this clump of grass using the claw, you'll try to remove as much soil as possible to keep the soil in your growing area, and then place this clump of grass in the pathway, put it upside down with the roots up in the air to make sure it dries out well and doesn't risk growing back. This applies to grasses, but it will also apply to all plants, roots, rhizomes, everything you remove, you put it all in the pathway. It might be a bit inconvenient at first, your pathway will be quite cluttered. In my growing areas, the beds end up lower than the pathway since waste piles up on top. It's inconvenient at first, but as you walk on it, it compacts and becomes less of an issue. And above all, it will have two important effects. First, it will smother all the plants that could grow in the pathways, all the weeds, everything like that will grow in the pathways. And all this material, as it decomposes, will fertilize the area a bit. Even if it's in the pathways, it will eventually be taken up by the surrounding crops anyway. It has a double benefit, but its main advantage is smothering growth in the pathways, which is very important. If you don't want to have regrowth later on in your growing areas, it's important to keep your pathways nice and clean. If it's grassy at first, cover it with your weeding waste each time. The grassier your growing areas were, the more you can smother. And then this organic matter in the pathway, which limits regrowth, will be fed gradually with all your crops, all your crop waste that you'll always put in the pathway. When you need your growing area to be clean, that's a small detail, but I find it quite important. For example, I often use mulch on my growing areas, and sometimes you have to remove the mulch to have bare soil for sowing. When I remove my mulch, I always put it in the pathways, because my pathways are always full of organic matter. They don't get compacted again. And then this organic matter that decomposes there, well, it's super fertilizing for the pathways once all the cleaning is done properly. A quick rake to make sure the garden bed is nice and clean. A seed bed ready and prepared to sow, possibly right after raking. Everything you remove stays the same in the pathway. If you have excess or thick roots, especially in fallow areas, you might find large roots. If it's in the way, compost it and avoid cluttering the path, but leave as much waste as possible there. After raking, the garden bed is spotless. And so now we're going to have a few rules to follow so that you'll never need to do this kind of weeding again. Rule number one, and the most important of all, is to plant the area as quickly as possible, so start cultivating it. If you have things to plant there, depending on when you're doing it, go ahead and plant them. Plant as densely as possible, really, so that it chokes out the area and prevents weeds from coming back. And if you're doing it at a time when you're not necessarily ready to start growing crops right away, just sow something there. You can sow green manure, plant cover, or anything else to occupy the area. If those terms aren't familiar, that's fine. Here's a link to my video on the subject so you'll know everything. The other thing you could eventually do is add mulch to the area. You can already put some compost to nourish the area a bit. That will bring organic matter. It will prevent the soil from compacting too much again, and then the mulch will cover and protect it from the sun. All that, well, you know this, but on the other hand, the risk with mulching is that it's not actually planting vegetation. It will protect the surface from the sun, but underneath, if there are no root systems in the soil, there's always a risk that the soil will gradually compact again. So for me, mulching is a temporary solution, but it's not the best solution out there. The best solution is to really plant vegetation in the area and make sure it's always covered with plants. So either crops, and if there are no crops, then cover crops, green manure. Second rule, and this is a pretty important point, I think. If you're starting from a meadow, the soil was covered with grasses, so the soil was perfect for grasses, and if you don't do anything else to that soil, well, it's going to stay a perfect soil for grasses. There's a good chance they'll come back and find it comfortable. So at this point, you've already used the broad fork, so you've aerated it a bit, you've already helped it evolve a little. So even if the grasses come back, they'll be easier to remove, but you'll be able to do something else. What's more interesting is to help this soil evolve by adding organic matter, making it more aerated and richer in organic material. That gets closer to a forest soil, which is not at all an ideal soil for grasses. So now that you've done all this work, you'll be able to add a good amount of compost or shredded material, some slightly decomposed green waste, slightly decomposed manure. What else can you add? Anything for mulching, straw, hay, dead leaves, that's it. Add as much organic matter as possible to boost growth. Sowing a cover crop or green manure in this compost will help it germinate better and work more effectively. Depending on the season and your plans, be cautious. Not everything is ideal. For example, it's spring, vegetable crops are coming soon, the soil is damp and it's not very warm, and mulching is going to be a perfect haven for slugs. So right now I'm going to put compost instead and either sow a cover crop or do my planting. And as for mulching, I would put it down later in the summer when it's really hot. And even the level of organic matter in the soil, it's good to maintain it. By adding regularly, you can either use crop residues, occasionally add a bit of compost, or let the mulch decompose on its own. In short, make sure the organic matter content is high enough, especially if you're creating a vegetable garden area. This will also benefit your crops and not benefit weeds. I mean, weeds, especially grasses, that could come back. Now let's move on to the second type of weeding I'm going to do. And as I said, this one is much quicker, much simpler, and not necessarily required. You'll see why. Here we're in an area that was weeded, as I showed you, but that was a year ago. The crops here lasted until the beginning of winter. I never needed to mulch this area. Here I just used the broad fork and leveled it a bit with a rake. I didn't need to do much more than that. So there are still a few weeds growing, but honestly almost none. And the few that do grow, you just have to pull them out. That's because the soil is very, very loose. In the path, you can see all the crop residues. There were castor plants here, which are great for organic matter. Castor plants produce a lot of biomass. There was earth pear, yacon, and pheasant trees, so quite a few things. It was so dense, mulching wasn't needed, and it didn't get overgrown again. A lot of organic matter, crop residues to leave in the paths. That way it will feed and cover the space here a bit. So in terms of weeds in the growing area, there's not much. Things often return along the paths, and while growth is normal, it's not really an issue. And from there, as I was saying, the weeding will be a bit different. For the first weeding, we remove everything, but for this one, we'll be selective. So if there are things you want to leave in place, we don't necessarily use the broad fork from this point on, I would say. Depending on your soil, using the broad fork isn't always necessary. In any case, it's not necessary to make weeding easier, since there isn't really much to do. However, I'm still going to use it. But it's more to aerate the soil and to restart the activity of the microbes in the soil, and so that my soil will be much more fertile for the crops I'm going to plant afterwards. But anyway, it's not mandatory. Now, a quick word about weeding. Because we're often afraid of weeds, I try not to make the mistake of calling them weeds anymore, since they're not all necessarily bad. Some are a bit more annoying than others, let's say, but if you see like a dandelion rosette or plantain, there are some things that you don't necessarily have to remove. Sow thistle, for example, I leave it because it's edible and it doesn't create a lot of competition. What does create a lot of competition? It's going to be grasses, bindweed, and cinquefoil. There are a few weeds that are really troublesome, so those ones. Remove them and make sure to really get all the roots of couch grass. If you want, it's a rhizome underground, it'll come back quickly, so really remove everything you can. Cinquefoil is the same, remove all the roots. For bindweed, remove the root as deep as possible. It's very rare to get it all out, but remove as much as you can. As I was saying, if the soil is well enriched with organic matter and loose, it's much easier to weed than on compact soil. If the first weeding is thorough and your soil has enough organic matter, later weedings will be much easier. That's the summary. And now, if you want to avoid bothering with weeding and having to do it again, what are the most important rules to follow? Do it really well the first time. And that's really where things often go wrong. How many times have I come after trainees who didn't bother to go and scrape properly? Deep enough to remove all the roots, or just by passing with the rake behind, I would notice there were still plenty of rhizomes underneath. So there you go, do it as well and as thoroughly as possible. Thoroughly weed the paths the first time and ensure no grass is growing, as it returns fastest there. And then plant more vegetation, cover with more cultivated plants, whether it's your crops or green manure or cover crops. Occupy the area as much as possible so that weeds don't have space to come back, and if it's done well, in the following years the soil stays loose and clean. The broad fork goes in like butter, and any grasses that might try to come back just come out easily. So from that point on, weeding, I wouldn't say it's just a distant memory. You won't need to do it as much, but it'll be much simpler and much faster. I'd even say after a few years, you'll see that the plants growing on their own will be things like lettuce, sunflowers, and leftovers from your previous crops that have reseeded themselves, because sometimes you let them go to seed, and that's a very good thing. Alright, I hope you enjoyed all this, found it useful, and that weeding will be less of a chore from now on. If you liked it, give it a thumbs up, share the video with people around you if you think they might enjoy it, subscribe to the channel, and so on as usual. And if you want to support me financially and help me keep making all these videos, I'll also put a link to my Typee page. And thank you so much to everyone who does. Alright, happy weeding to everyone.